Hi. So this isn't necessarily a random ramblings, but it will be me randomly rambling about a lot of stuff. And we're going to be talking about, you know, Dragon Age, the new information, the new title that it has, Veilguard, and we're going to be looking at the Bioware blog post and so the Dragon Age Dreadwolf thing, and we're going to use this one just to have a quick snippet on everything that came out. But we're just going to source it there quickly. And yeah, I'm just excited because like I don't know, it's just like so cool to see Dragon Age like having new stuff come out. And it's just nice, you know. Dragon Age was one of my favorite franchises, and I just absolutely loved seeing like so much hype around it, and just like seeing everyone just being very positive about it, and just the information that came out is just so cool, you know. So first off, let's talk about the new title, which is Veilguard. Like, okay, cool. Veilguard. What is it? What does that mean? So, as I said in this one, I think if we look down for it, or if we look here, no, not there. Wait, where is it? 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 Yeah. So to capture what the game is about, we changed the name as the original title didn't show how strongly we feel about our new heroes, their stories, and how they'll bring them together to save all of Thedas. We proudly introduce Dragon Age, the Veilguard. So they changed this for a specific reason because of companions, right? Dragon Age has always been about companions, and all of Bioware games have always been about companions. Even with Baldur's Gate 1, they changed how companions worked, so they were a lot more had a lot more characters, a lot more real and stuff like that, right? So they definitely, focus on a lot of companions, even if they didn't do it at the start of their, when they're making games, right? They don't really say it. And that's why, like, Anthem, for example, wasn't necessarily as well received because the lack of companions really hindered it. A lot of Bioware's writing and stories are hinged on companions, because companions give different perspectives on, events, issues, and all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, it's something that made Anthem not as great as other Bioware games, and so them changing to this indicates that they recognize that the companions are what a lot of people like about the games, and so are adjusting accordingly, right? And I didn't dislike the name Dreadwolf. Dreadwolf was just like, it's on the box, right? It's describing what the game is, what it's gonna have, right? It's gonna involve Solus in some capacity, right? It's the Dreadwolf, right, or Dreadwolf, and like that's fine, you know. But though Veilguard like describes a lot more and is a lot more interesting in the way it says, like Veilguard, like okay, so they're guarding this thing called the Veil, and then it's like okay, so this is a much more broader, more abstract concept, right? And even in the IGN interview, which we'll get to now, but in it does say that hey, it's not just about Solus, right? It's about also a lot of other like characters and villains, and involving the Veil. So it's like okay, cool, so it's involving the Veil generally, and the characters and your companions and the character you're playing out are like people who are guarding the Veil, who are going to protect it and whatnot. Like okay, cool, that makes sense. It makes you think about the what the game's going to be about and whatnot. It's like okay, cool. I think that's a really positive change. A lot of people dislike the in the Veilguard, which is fine, I guess. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's not like we're going to call it DATV, as funny as that is. We're all going to be calling it DAV, Dav, or Dave, or something like that. And we're just going to do that. I don't really think it's that important. And also maybe it's supposed to be the Veilguard, not the Veilguard. As in just saying like, hey, this is, someone is significant and important, not just like something. Like, hey, I'm gonna go to the guard, but the guard has a lot more weight to it. So I think having the into it is fine, right? There's nothing really wrong with it, and I don't get what some people's issues with that is. But yeah, anyways, I think it's a great name change. It's gonna be really cool to see what's gonna happen with it. And this is what the developers wanted. And I'm just happy about that, If I go to perhaps Mike Gambolarino, Michael Gamble. I think I should be able to just find him. No, that's not it. Because he also spoke about why they changed the name. And if we quickly go find it here. Where is it? On the other time, questions: why did you change it now and not before? The team had this name in mind for a while. You all can't have a change of name on any old Thursday. It got to be something special. So they had it on the mind for a while, right? And as obviously in the IGN interview in this one, they obviously made it because it felt more right for the game. And I gotta say that's really cool though. And it shows to me that if they're willing to change the name this late into development, right? Like, which is going to cause some confusion. People are going to be like, yes, I'm excited for Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Oh no, it's Dragon Age Veilguard. What? Huh? What? It invokes something wrong, but like hearing that it's because they wanted to make it more representative, it's a lot better. And especially in the IGN interview, if I go maybe find it, it does say the reason that they changed the name. They said like if they went for Dreadwolf, right, it was a little better, right? Where is it actually? Yeah, we actually think sticking with Dreadwolf would have been a safer choice. Dreadwolf is a cool name after all. In the end, it was more important to have a title that that was authentic to the companions in the heart of the adventure we created. So yeah, right. Like, it's clear. It's clear that Dreadwolf would have been a better name because again, it's very easy. It's very understandable. You know what the game is, but like, this is a lot more representative, and it's just cool, you know. Anyways, let's move on to another topic. So the next one I wanted to speak about was the 7 unique companions with deep companion. The 7 unique companions. So why 7 companions? For obvious reasons, 7 companions is in the interview actually. If we quickly go here, then to parry the number of companions from 9 to 7 is mostly down to the right number for the story we're telling. Each one is intended to represent a unique faction or element from Thedas and will feature their own arc with stories of love and loss, each with meaningful choices and emotional moments. So yeah, that's basically why they did it. And I think that's a really good idea. Dragon Age 2, I think, has the best companions literally ever, right? In any video game whatsoever. And for the reason that I think is down to the game's length and also down to how many companions there are. Dragon Age 2 has 5 companions. Technically, it has 8. It has Varric, Isabel, Meryl, Fenris, Anders, your sibling, which is Carver and Bethany, and then you have Sebastian, which is the DLC character. So like 8 companions. But it's more accurate to say it's 5 companions, and when Sebastian is included, it's 6 companions, because your sibling dies in the first prologue and then leaves in Act 1, either dies or leaves. And so that is very important to remember, because most of the game is with like just 5 or 6 companions. It's a smaller amount, but it means that the companions themselves are a lot higher quality, right? And I think Dragon Age Inquisition did a really great job in like making the companions very compelling, interesting, and whatnot. But if you had the same amount of development and time making 9 companions, but applied to 7 companions, it would be a lot better. You know, the bar would, because you would be able to focus more on just these fewer number of companions and make their interactions with each other better, make their interactions with the player better, and make their overall like character better, right? And I think that's a really great sign. Dragon Age 2 is my favorite Dragon Age game and favorite game of all time, and I'm just like so happy to see that is the direction they're taking to, and why they're doing that, because it helps them focus on it. 7 is a very odd number, considering all things. Especially when it comes to the classes, it's still going to probably just be the trifecta of rogue, mage, and warrior. But now we won't be able to have like representation of each subclass, right? Like in Dragon Age Inquisition, which is fine. One class is just gonna be able to be more representative. I imagine the least representative class will be a mage. I don't imagine they're gonna have like 3 mages, maybe 2 at most, but it's probably going to be 1, I think, at least. But yeah, I think it's going to be really cool, and it's something I think helps a lot by focusing in on it, because other RPGs such as like Baldur's Gate 3, I think the quantity isn't really representative of the quality of it, you know. But we'll get that more later. And then other parts of it, which is one thing I find weird. That's like, oh yeah, this is a new detail. Players will take on the role of the original protagonist, similar to the Warden's Hawk, and because of like, obviously, I find that weird to set the obvious. Like, we knew that, right? Same with the one above that, which is like, oh yeah, it changes the name because it's not just about Solus. It's like kind of obvious, right? Like, we knew. I think it was reasonable to expect that in Dragon Age Veilguard, that it wasn't just going to be about Solus, you know? It was going to be about Solus and the consequences he causes, right? Like, him bringing down the veil will inevitably cause a lot of other issues alongside that, especially with the Evanuras and the old gods mentioned throughout the Dragon Age Inquisition with him. And it's like, okay, clearly this game isn't just going to be Solus focused, you know? Maybe he is going to be the final boss, but he's not going to be the only boss or the only threat that we're going to have to face. It's just this weird thing I don't necessarily get, but hey, you know. Player agency, which is fine and whatnot. Arcs and stories, and then we have combat, which then, oh yeah, and then we'll get to this one as well soon. Actually, no, yeah, we'll get to the one now. So, in gameplay, it says 2 companions who can join them. So this means, just directly, that we will only have 2 companions. We'll have our player character and then 2 additional companions. It'll be like Mass Effect, right? Now, I don't know how to feel about this change. Not... Because, like, on one hand, I can see where they're coming from. They see that 2 companions can probably be a bit more tighter gameplay experience-wise. Mass Effect has never really been, I think, tight in its gameplay experience with 2 companions, because, for one, I always play on easy, so I never really got to experience that. And 2, whenever I did play on, like, harder modes, it doesn't really feel like it was there. You know, Bioware games have never really been about the gameplay, and so when you see people complaining about like, oh yeah, Dragon Age isn't as tactical anymore, or Mass Effect doesn't have like controllable companions or whatever, or you can direct them to do powers and whatnot. Like, I never really was bothered by that, because it's like, kind of missing the forest where the trees are. Like, you played Bioware games for the gameplay? What? Like, that was the sort of issue with the Anthem, right? Anthem focused too much on the gameplay and less on the other aspects of Bioware's story, right? Now, this isn't me saying it should be good. It shouldn't be good, the gameplay. I'm just saying that the gameplay has to be good enough to facilitate the other stuff, right? So, yeah, I just don't particularly know how to feel about that, because my issue with the changing gameplay from Dragon Age game to Dragon Age game is that it's inconsistent, right? I don't think either gameplay system is fine. My favorite gameplay is Dragon Age 2. I love the energy, the presentation, the different subclasses. Like, Force Mage Hawk is just an amazing subclass, like unreal. I absolutely love just how devastating it feels, just like destroying all the opponents and whatnot. And it's just such a great time to play. And they even made like classes such as the Archer a lot better, instead of where it was before, where in Origins where you just like shot and then you're like, enemy, shot, enemy approaching. It's like, it now feels a lot better. It feels a lot more energetic, and this is like the asymmetrical combat that I really enjoy, you know. But like, I still had an issue, which is the inconsistency, you know. And so I think, because I think it's better when games have a sort of consistent gameplay style, because it unifies them more. It makes them a lot more recognizable as a sequel from, you know, in the franchise than other games. One thing that I like a lot about Gears of War is that a lot of its gameplay is very consistent. Now, there are games like Judgment which make it a bit different and whatnot, but even then, it's still like fundamental like Gears of War. And that's the thing, right? Gears of War's charm is that if you take like Gears of War 1 player and they never played any other Gears of War but Gears of 1, and then made them play Gears of War 5, you know what would happen? It'd be consistent. They would still be able to understand it. They'd still be able to know that this game is like, still has the ideas, energy, concepts, presentation, feeling of Gears of War 1, but just in a newer engine, newer graphics and whatnot. And that's something that I think is very beneficial, because it makes it very recognizable to a lot of people, and again, it ties them together a lot closer. You can feel like, hey, I'm playing this Dragon Age series, you know, and same gameplay styles, and they can evolve, talk to one another, and have different ideas and whatnot. It makes them just a lot better in that regard, you know. And it sucks that it doesn't have that. And the three companions have been such a mainstay in Dragon Age and like the fantasy genre for Bioware, that it feels weird that they're taking it away, you know. And it's my issue is mostly like I don't like how inconsistent it is with the previous games, you know. I don't particularly mind the new gameplay that they're the new gameplay changing. It'll probably be good, and I probably will enjoy it a lot, as I did with like all the Dragon Age games gameplay. But I do lament the fact that there wasn't like a consistent gameplay style for all the games to share, you know, to evolve, to talk within one another, and just have like different experiences with it. And yeah, I mean, like, it's fine. And additionally, one thing that's very interesting that I wasn't expecting to come back, but I'm happy enough that they're going to come back with, is where is it to add another layer of to that strategic element. We are introduced a new ability wheel where you can pause the action and set up your next move, whether it's your companion's abilities or your own. So this implies that it's more very Mass Effect combat. Now this could be maybe Mass Effect teams sort of taken over Dragon Age in a bit, where they're sort of like testing ideas for their game, which maybe that's me being a bit cynical, but that's how I feel about it. But like, it's still an interesting idea though. Now whether this is going to have like tactics cam or whatnot is yet to be seen, but I still think it's neat. I'm probably not going to use it as much, because as in like with Mass Effect, I never really used the pause other than just to like make sure my abilities hit, because I didn't really have a great computer at the time. So yeah, it's fine though. And then we move on to something that I think is very interesting. Now where is it? Okay, yeah. I won't spoil the next week's reveal, but I can say we've created a story where you can impact the world and the companions that surround you. Player enters the support in Dragon Age, the Veilguard experience, and allows each player to form unique personal connections with the companions of choice. And yes, you can romance the companions you want. So there are a few ways that I can take this. The two interpretations. The sort of like interpretation for me, which is the like charitable interpretation, at least in my perspective, is they just mean that like you'll be able to romance companions, right? Like you'll be able to romance like the companions you would want to romance, not in the sense of like they're all bi or bisexual, pansexual, but in the sense that they are, you'll be able to romance them, right? The other one, which is one that I fear, my more like cynical interpretation, is that all the companions will be like romanceable by anyone, which I'm of two minds of, right? Of one mind, I don't really like it. I think it loses a lot of the distinctness that the companions can bring. Because here's the thing, right? Dorian's story about being a gay man wouldn't really be as impactful if he wasn't gay, right? If he was like bisexual, it would have to be written differently for it to be really impactful, you know. And I just don't necessarily think that having him be like pan would help with that story, you know. Same with like Solus. Solus only romances like female elves, right? And I think there's like a lot of really great stuff about that. Solus only being able to be romanced by those characters, by those Inquisitors, makes his story a lot more real. He is and also contributes to his story. He is a elf supremacist, you know, in a very basic way. He's not going to romance a Qunari, a male Qunari, because that's just not who he is. That's not what he's attracted to. And it tells a story. Romances aren't just like cool things you can like kiss cute boys and girls and whatnot. It's also about telling a story about them. One of the things that I disliked about Baldur's Gate 3 was that like all the companions just could romance anyone and had no preferences whatsoever. And I felt like that was like very off, because it's very clear that if they were real people, they would have preferences. For example, Lizelle. Lizelle, I think in my mind, should have just been a Githyanki romance. Like male, female, whatever, it doesn't matter. But it should have been like restricted to only Githyanki. Like Lizelle will like have sex with any other, you know, race, but will not have a romantic relationship with any other race, you know. And I think that tells a story. And especially because like a lot of sexuality and whatnot is influenced culturally. Back in like the 1800s or 1950s or whatever, being gay there weren't as many gay people. If you look on the charts and whatnot, you can see that people who say like, hey, are you gay? There are far less people out there who'd say they were gay. But now it's changed. Why is that? Are the chemicals turning us all gay? No, gay acceptance has just become a much more prominent thing, and since being accepted as gay is, you know, much better received, it means that a lot more people will come out as gay. So the culture influences your sexuality and who you are attracted to, and that's what I like a lot about Bioware's companions, is that they're influenced by their culture, their own identities, and it makes a lot of sense, you know. And it's just something that would have been really cool to see, like Lexel, for example, to be representative a lot more of her culture. She isn't going to romance any other race other than like a Githyanki, because that's who she is. She's not going to do that. And it could have even gotten better by having her able to romance other races, but you have to do specific choices for her to do that. You have to, for example, make sure she's going on the path against Vlaakith. So she's challenging the ideals of the Githyanki a lot more, and then she's like, okay, if the Githyanki are on like Vlaakith and, you know, Orpheus and whatnot, then maybe I should be more open and accepting, and maybe I can romance other people that aren't my own, right? And that's just something that like can tell a story, and it's very meaningful, it's very impactful, but it's lost if all of them are romanceable by any character, by any gender, by any race. And that just sucks. Like, it's cool on a sort of like, I like the fact that I'll be able to like romance anyone. You know, it's no inconvenience to me. I could romance the female characters that haven't them rejected me, whenever. But like, it loses that storytelling that it could become, that could be derived from. And again, like with Solis for an example as well. Again, like his story would be less impactful, if he was able to romance other races other than an elf. I don't think that would have been good if he was able to do that. And it's just like, yeah. And here's the thing though. A lot of people would argue that, hey, I mean, it's fine though. As long as they write them as pan or bisexual, it'll be fine. The thing is, right, why can't you have polyamorous relationships with other characters? In Baldur's Gate 3, you can't be in a polyamorous relationship with Karlach and Shadowheart, or like Will and Karlach. You can't do that. Why is that? Why is that restriction in place? Wouldn't it be better for the player to be able to romance them? Or why do they have a preference in that regard? And that's something that I think gets in the line, because it's clear that the reason why a lot of people want romances, all companions to be all romanceable, is because they don't want to be inconvenienced by the fact that like, oh wait, you're telling me like you don't want to be romanced by me? Oh my gosh, dude, I feel very upset spaghetti, right? I was playing as a female Inquisitor in Dragon Age Inquisition, and I wanted to romance Cassandra. I found out she's not into girls. She's not into women. Like, okay, I was upset by that, but I wasn't like... It basically just made me make a new character and romance her again. It adds replay value as well, you know, like having companions who have preferences. It tells a story. It has preference. It adds replay value. It just adds a lot of things, and like, I don't know. But back onto like the polyamorous relationship thing. Like, I mean, again, why can't you do that? Why can't the player do that? Why do they have preferences for you being monogamous, but like not polyamorous? Why is that the case? And that's something that I think is very, for a lot of people, they can't really answer, because it will eventually have to go, you will have to either accept that yes, you should be able to romance all companions at the same time, you know, or you're gonna have to accept that like, no, companions have preferences, some companions just don't want to do it, and you're gonna have to then pull back the argument that all companions have to be romanceable, because then you have to acknowledge that having preferences makes them feel more real as characters. Like, even if all of them are bi and pan, right? Like, all of them are bisexual and pansexual. I hope that some of them will have preferences on like masculinity, femininity. Like, some of them are into like feminine guys, some of them are into like masculine women, stuff like that, and they're into like and also specific race options. I'm gonna call one of the companions right now a dwarf Kalshrok. A dwarf who's from Kalshrok. And I imagine that dwarf will not romance anyone else other than another dwarf. Why? Because Castle Rock has been described as in lore as a very like not conservative but a very like rigid and hierarchical dwarven city. It's very steeped in tradition, and it's shown that hey, even compared to Orzammar, they're like old. They are using a language they don't even really understand. That's how like old and traditional they are. And it's like, okay, would the culture surrounding that, would the people prefer other, races? Would they accept that? And I don't think so. And I think they can tell a very interesting, compelling story. Hey, they're not really into those other races because the influence of the culture. And again, like a lot of people view like romances as just like a way to kiss cute boys and girls, right? But I see it more as a way to tell a story about the world and the characters themselves. And that's something that I like. I hope Dreadwolf will at least try. Bloody heck, it's gonna be a while to get me to keep naming it to Veilguard instead of Dreadwolf. Oh boy, it's been a long time. Veilguard. I hope Veilguard makes sure that there are at least some preferences for the companions, because that's what I hope. I hope that that's like the case. And yeah, this has been like another random ramblings. I've gone on tangents. I'm not. I think that's everything that has to be said. Yeah. I mean, I think that's mostly it. I think. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for Veilguard. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be good. And I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm happy that Dragon Age is like coming out. A lot of people are happy about it, and it's just like something that's just like so cool to see. I like Baldur's Gate 3, but I hope that Dragon Age will still say Dragon Age. That's one of the things that I find very weird with a lot of people coming out nowadays, trying to have like Dragon Age be more something else other than what it is, and that's something like I do worry, at least somewhat. But I'm happy. It seems like it's going to be like a Dragon Age game, even though it is different, such as with the companions, the gameplay changes and whatnot. But I'm happy. I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Perhaps considering liking or subscribing, perhaps, and I don't know. Maybe you should also comment down below. That could also be a thing. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.